The world stands on a far more fragile balance than it appears. We often view the global struggle for power through the lens of massive armies, nuclear warheads, or carrier strike groups. But the real battlefield of the 21st century isn't the plains of Ukraine or the deserts of the Middle East. The real war is being fought in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, on an island no larger than Maryland, within circuits thousands of times thinner than a human hair. Taiwan. This is not just an island, it is the central nervous system of the global economy. If Taiwan were to go offline tomorrow, the world wouldn't just slow down, it would paralyze. Hospitals would lose their diagnostic power, satellite systems would go dark, and the smartphone in your pocket would become nothing more than a useless slab of glass and metal. How did the world come to entrust its entire future to a small piece of land just 100 miles off the coast of mainland China? Why are the world's two greatest superpowers, Washington and Beijing, willing to risk a direct confrontation, perhaps even World War III, over this single island? This is more than a struggle for sovereignty. It is the story of the greatest technological monopoly in human history and the silicon shield built around it. Welcome to 21st century Taiwan. The reality is far more complex than you've been told. Every revolution has an architect, but the architect of the Silicon Revolution wasn't Steve Jobs or Bill Gates. It was a man most people have never heard of, Morris Chang. In the late 1980s, when Chang left a comfortable career in Texas to return to Taiwan, he carried an idea that most industry leaders called insane. At the time, giants like Intel designed and manufactured their own chips. Chang proposed a radical shift. We will only manufacture chips for others. We will have no brand of our own. We will simply be the world's best foundry. In 1987, TSMC, Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company, was born from this vision. The tech world laughed. Real men have fabs, the industry titans used to say. But Chang saw a future they couldn't. He knew that chip design would become so complex and expensive that companies wouldn't be able to afford both the design and the multi-billion-dollar factories. He was right. Today, NVIDIA's AI processors, the brains inside every iPhone, and the world's most advanced defense systems all wait in line at TSMC's door. TSMC isn't just a factory, it is the world's most precise printing press, operating at an atomic scale. To give you an idea of the scale, we are talking about etching billions of transistors onto a silicon wafer using light. It's like trying to perfectly arrange millions of needleheads on a football field without a single mistake. A 1-second vibration, a 1-degree temperature shift, or a single speck of dust can ruin $1 billion worth of production. Taiwan turned this precision into an art form, and that art made them indispensable. Taiwan's leaders realized something early on. Militarily, they could never truly match the sheer scale of mainland China. Geography was brutal, the distance was too short, so they built a defense stronger than any army, the Silicon Shield. This term describes Taiwan's strategic indispensability. The logic is simple yet terrifying. If China invades Taiwan, or if a war breaks out, TSMC's production stops. If TSMC stops, China's own tech industry collapses, and the US military's supply chain is paralyzed. To strike Taiwan is to hit the reset button on the modern world. However, in the 2020s, this shield is thinner than ever. Beijing has declared semiconductor independence, pouring hundreds of billions into its own national champions. Washington, meanwhile, has passed the CHIPS Act, pressuring TSMC to move its most advanced factories to American soil, specifically the deserts of Arizona. Why? Because the Pentagon knows that in the event of a lost war, Taiwan might employ a scorched earth policy. There are documented scenarios where TSMC's priceless facilities would be destroyed to prevent them from falling into Beijing's hands. Never in history has a handful of machines inside a few buildings held the power to prevent or ignite a global war. This is no longer just an island, it's a trillion-dollar poker table, and both sides are trying to prove they aren't bluffing. If Taiwan is the front line of this war, where is the armory? The answer lies in a quiet town in the Netherlands called Veldhoven. This is the home of ASML, the only company on Earth capable of building the machines that make modern life possible. To print the world's most advanced chips, TSMC requires a machine known as EUV, extreme ultraviolet lithography. To call this technology is an understatement. It is the pinnacle of human engineering. An EUV machine costs roughly $200 million, weighs over 40 tons, and requires 3 Boeing 747s just to transport. But its true value lies in its precision. This machine creates a plasma by hitting drops of molten tin with a laser 50,000 times per second. The light reflected from this process is used to etch circuits at an atomic scale. To put it simply, the mirrors inside this machine are so smooth that if you were to scale one up to the size of Germany, the largest bump on its surface would be less than a millimeter high. This is the geopolitical bottleneck. Under pressure from Washington, the Dutch government has banned ASML from selling these machines to China. No matter how much money Beijing spends, no matter how many spies they deploy, they cannot simply copy this machine. It is the result of decades of collaboration across thousands of global suppliers. For China, this is a modern-day technological siege. They have the factories, but they don't have the printing press. In Taiwan, dozens of these machines are humming 24/7. Now you see the desperation. Taiwan isn't just valuable for its land, it is valuable because it is the only place where these holy machines work at peak efficiency. But the war isn't just being fought with export bans. It's being fought in the shadows. Since the early 2000s, China has engaged in what experts call the Great Brain Drain. Top-tier Taiwanese engineers are often approached with offers that are hard to refuse. Triple salaries, luxury housing, and the promise of becoming a national hero in the new China. Beijing isn't just looking for blueprints. They are looking for the secret sauce, the specific chemical mixtures in airflow diagrams that keep a fab running. In response, Taiwan has elevated economic espionage to a matter of national security. Passing trade secrets to a Chinese firm is no longer just a corporate crime. It's treated as treason. Every day, TSMC's servers face thousands of cyber attacks. The goal? To steal the recipes for 3 nanometer and 2 nanometer nodes. Because in this race, being second place is the same as being last. If China can bridge the gap from 7 nanometers to 3 nanometers, the silicon shield begins to crack. The moment Taiwan is no longer uniquely necessary is the moment the island becomes truly vulnerable. Washington knows that relying on a shield 100 miles from China is a massive gamble. If a blockade begins tomorrow, the U.S. economy could face a depression worse than 1929. This realization triggered one of the largest industrial shifts in history. The U.S. government convinced and subsidized TSMC to build its most advanced facilities in the scorching heat of the Arizona desert. But moving the world's most sensitive industry is proving to be a nightmare. Taiwanese engineering culture is built on military-grade discipline, 70-hour work weeks, and total devotion to the fab. Can this model survive in America? Early reports suggest a massive cultural clash between Taiwanese management and American labor unions. Furthermore, this move creates a terrifying dilemma for Taipei. If the U.S. successfully migrates the technology to Arizona, what happens to the silicon shield? Does Taiwan lose its value as a strategic asset? If America is no longer dependent on the island for its chips, will it still send its sons and daughters to defend it? This is the existential zero-sum game that keeps Taiwanese diplomats awake at night. As we look toward the end of this decade, the Taiwan equation is reaching a boiling point. The status quo, a delicate dance of ambiguity that has lasted for 70 years, is no longer sustainable. We are moving toward a grand settlement or a grand collision. Based on current geopolitical intelligence and economic trends, 3 paths lie before us. Scenario 1, the technological Iron Curtain. In this version of the future, the decoupling of the US and China becomes absolute. The world splits into 2 distinct technological ecosystems. One side runs on American-designed, Taiwan-manufactured chips, while the other survives on Chinese-made semiconductors. The internet, once a global village, fragments. Your devices in the West will no longer communicate with the systems in the East. This sovereign tech era means slower innovation, but higher security for the superpowers. For Taiwan, it means living under a permanent state of siege, serving as the exclusive armory for one side while being the primary target of the other. Scenario 2, the scorched earth. This is the nightmare scenario that keeps global markets trembling. If Beijing decides that the cost of waiting is higher than the cost of war, an invasion begins. But as the first missiles cross the strait, the silicon shield is detonated from within. Taiwan has hinted that it would rather destroy its crown jewels, the ASML machines and the fabs, then let them be captured. In a single afternoon, 90% of the world's advanced computing power vanishes. The global economy enters a dark age of electronics. This isn't just a war over land, it's a war where the prize evaporates the moment it's touched. Scenario 3, the Great Leapfrog. History is full of surprises. While the US and China fight over silicon, a third player or a new technology could emerge. Perhaps graphene or quantum computing renders current chips obsolete. If the world moves past the need for 2-nanometer silicon, Taiwan's strategic value drops overnight. The shield disappears, and the island must find a new way to survive in a world that no longer views its factories as the holy grail of the 21st century. We often talk about technology as something abstract, lines of code, invisible signals, glowing screens. But the story of 21st century Taiwan reminds us that technology is deeply, dangerously human. It is the story of Morris Chang's ambition, the tireless discipline of thousands of anonymous engineers, and the cold calculations of emperors and presidents. We have built a civilization that is more powerful than anything our ancestors could have imagined. And yet, that entire civilization hangs by a thread made of silicon stretched across a 100-mile-wide strait. As you hold your phone today, remember, you aren't just holding a gadget. You are holding a piece of the most contested real estate in history. You are holding the reason why fleets are moving in the Pacific and why billions of dollars are shifting across the globe. The silicon shield has kept the peace for decades. But as the world grows hungrier for power and the machines grow smaller and faster, we must ask ourselves, is the miracle of the microchip worth the risk of a global catastrophe? Or have we accidentally built a world that is simply too advanced to survive its own greed? The answer isn't in the labs of TSMC or the halls of the Pentagon. The answer lies in how we choose to navigate this new fragile era. Thank you for watching this deep dive into the heart of the 21st century. If you found this journey insightful, subscribe and join the conversation in the comments. How do you think the Taiwan equation will end? The world is watching, and for now, the clock is still ticking. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the forces shaping our world, make sure to hit that like button. It really helps the channel grow. What's your take on this topic? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single one. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss our next investigation. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this documentary, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share your thoughts in the comments below. Your support helps us create more deep dives into the hidden forces shaping our world.